Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sabrina Kofer, and on behalf of Choice and ACRL, I'd like to welcome you to today's program, Introducing Nature Research Intelligence, Aiding in Data-Driven Research Strategies, which is sponsored by Springer Nature. Today's discussion is one in a series of sponsored webinars from Choice and ACRL that addresses new ideas and developments of interest to the academic library community. Before we get started, I'd like to point out just a few features of the webinar software. All of the attendees who join the presentation are automatically muted and your cameras are off, so don't worry about generating any noise or feedback. We've got that taken care of for you. In the main area of the screen, you can also follow along with the presentation materials. And we are using the Q&A feature today. Please use it to ask questions of our speakers. We'll answer as many questions as we have time for at the end of the presentation, so please do type your questions into the Q&A as they occur to you. You can also use the upvote feature to highlight questions that you like. Also note that there is closed captioning available for today's session. To toggle the automated captions on or off, please use the CC button on the bottom right corner of your screen. Last, please note that we are recording today's program and everyone who registered should receive a follow-up email with a link to the archive version. And with that, we are ready to get started. So I will hand it over to Darren.
Thank you very much, Sabrina, and hello again from Lisbon. Great to have so many of you on the call. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Delighted to be here to introduce Nature Research Intelligence. My name's Darren Howell. I am Vice President of Research Intelligence for Springer Nature. Today I'll do a quick introduction to myself and the other speakers. I'll tell you a bit about why we launched Nature Research Intelligence, NRI. We'll explore a little bit about the challenges in setting research direction that we think we can help with, and introduce the products that we have within Nature Research Intelligence. And then lastly, let you know, if you want to find out some more, how to best engage with us. So as I mentioned, I'm Darren Howell, Vice President of Research Intelligence, leading this business and Springer Nature's internal research intelligence team, and have been doing so for about 4 years. I'm joined today by Marcus Candle, based in Munich. He's a group product manager for research intelligence, and we'll talk you through a couple of our solutions today. Steve is based in Sydney, and I think it's about 3 a.m. for Steve, so we very much hope that Steve's sleeping and won't join us today, but Steve's a great contact to reach out to, and particularly for those that could overlap with his time zone in Sydney. And Steve's a Director of Consulting in our team. So if we move on, I wanted to start with why we've launched Nature Research Intelligence, and I think it's a very common reason why we all work in research, and there's a lot of money invested in R&D. There's about 1.6 trillion US dollars invested a year. Not all of that in academic settings, much of that in corporate settings as well. But many people that we speak with have the question about how could this investment drive a greater socio-economic impact. All investments could be more effective, and I think we see that there's a lot of opportunity to drive more effective investments in research and development. With many people, there's a focus on sustainable development goals. There's things that have come out, particularly post-pandemic, around clinical trial prioritization. And there's generally this discussion about the balance of applied and translational research. And many people started to come to nature to see how we could help, and how nature could contribute to how effectively this money is spent, and the decisions around that. And we looked at that, and we certainly started to help several organisations. And what we saw there was, there is something that we can do definitely to improve the focus on impact more broadly than the academic impact that I think dominates assessments in many areas today. There's definitely things that we do already and more that we can do in terms of influencing research direction. And the same can be true for collaboration. And so we'd like to help you, as you'd like to help everybody else, to improve and to influence the direction of research so that it benefits us all. And that's why we're talking today. If we move on, we spoke with many organizations, many research organizations, and we saw that there's some very common needs that we could support in this space. The reason why people said to us that research intelligence is important to them is they want to improve the situation of the world today, and they want to do that primarily through the quality of research undertaken by their organization. And that could manifest itself in things like improved reputations, improved rankings, improved funding opportunities, and improved collaboration opportunities, and then improvements in the staff and research students that they attract. So I want to pause here, because this is definitely our understanding from speaking to many people, but this is a new audience. And we're going to launch a quick poll just to understand this audience a little bit better. So the poll should be live. Let us know in the chat if you can't see it. There's 2 questions there. So the first question, please start to fill these out as I'm speaking. The first question is, how important is setting research direction to your role? So we'd love to understand if the things that we're seeing are important to you. And then out of the things that we mentioned here, which of the following have you worked on in the last year? So research rankings, funding opportunities, collaboration opportunities, and attracting research staff. It's very interesting to learn a bit more about the audience and how research intelligence and research decisions kind of impact your day-to-day work. Sabrina, I don't know if the votes are coming in. How's that going?
Yep, yeah, I think we're just about there. I'll give it a couple more seconds, but votes are coming in.
Fantastic. Whilst the votes are coming in, also just to mention that we recently released a white paper interviewing STEM information professionals on kind of bridging that gap into action around research strategies. And you can see a short image from that on the left-hand side. So here we are, we can see the results. I guess the audience can see these as well. And what we're seeing there is that nearly 30% see setting research direction as very important in their role. 80% either very important or important, and that's fantastic. And about 20% of the audience, it's not really core to their role. And then in terms of the involvement they have with setting research directions, rankings for 44%, very high there. Funding opportunities, 38%. This very much reflects what we've seen. Collaboration opportunities as well. And less so attracting research staff. So yeah, this is it's great to see. Didn't know this as we started the poll, but what we're seeing here very much reflects the conversations that we have and the customers that we're working with. So thank you very much for that. Let's move on. So in the conversations that we have with people in this area, what are the challenges that we've heard? Well, we've heard that there's a lack of high quality, reliable data and difficulty in benchmarking. We've heard that it's very difficult to combine different data sources, that data sources and analysis tends to have a retrospective bias, looking into the past. People don't know what they don't know. And this is just generally true in the world these days. There's just too much data. It's really hard for us to digest everything that's happening. And then we also hear that even if people kind of overcome these challenges and have direction, it's difficult to action that. Attracting talent is really hard. And again, post-pandemic, that's even harder. The market for talent is so tough. It's really tricky to showcase research value. There's shrinking resources and financial and other restrictions there. So hopefully you recognize some of these things from your roles. As we move on, we think we can help, and we'd love to work with you to help answer your questions around research strategy and direction. And we think Nature's got a lot to offer here. So most people know Nature. We've been the most trusted name in science for over 150 years, and we can offer that experience to you. We think about the future of science day in, day out. And we can use forward-looking insights to guide the future of your research. We're speaking with people all the time. We're doing analysis all the time. You can come to us for one place to go for your research intelligence insights, so that you can get faster and more effective decisions. We can kind of cut through what we see quite often is the debate around whether analysis is authoritative, and how actionable it is. We're applying the latest, very latest, in fact, AI. I'd love to speak more about that. Probably won't get into a lot of depth today. Marcus may show a bit, but also our fantastic editorial teams to meet your needs. And we are seeing that this really does help people move their research agenda forwards to unlock discovery. And we can do this across many disciplines, not just the ones maybe that you're more familiar with Nature on. If we move forwards, one of the things that I touched on there is combining many sources. So we thought maybe it's useful to speak with you today about those sources and how we're working with data. And so we kind of look at data. We're very data hungry. We believe that all sources are good sources. And we source data from many different places. The first thing to start with is that Springer Nature is one of the largest research publishers in the world. If you move on, Marcus, then what we have are not only fantastic journals and books and all the brilliant science and research that's published there. We have magazine information, but we also have data solutions like ADIS Insight that are tracking clinical trials, for example, or our experiments platform, or our materials platform. So these are data products that are collecting data beyond our own data and organizing in that way. And we can use all of these and start from a very strong base. But we don't have all the data that's there in the world. We very much recognize that. And we're also keen advocates of open access, open science, and open data. And we partner with all the largest open data providers. You can see some of the names, hopefully you recognize them here: Unpayable, Crossref, OpenAlex, ORCID, PubMed, Lens, and Semantic Scholar. And we have access to that in our data warehouse. And can use that together with our own sources and other sources to answer your questions. And quite often we find, even internally, that people are debating about what's the right number. We can show the numbers from different sources. We also have data partners where we work with commercial products, particularly with digital science dimensions, but others as well. And there'll be more to add to this list. And we can bring those in as well where needed. Dimensions is a fantastic source of linked data. So not only the citable scientific articles that you might be more experienced with, but conferences, grants, patents, clinical trials, data sets, a vast range of data that's there, and all of these things are pan-publisher. So it's not just Springer Nature data, it's not just Nature data, it's across all suppliers of information. And then sometimes even that's not enough. So there are other sources. We've got a very strong capability, and we can bring in data sources on request. In fact, we did this very recently for a client. Sometimes those will be confidential data sources or data sources with licensing restrictions, and we can work with those on your behalf. And sometimes they're just be another public data source that for whatever reason we haven't brought into our data warehouse just yet. And it's not just about the data though. We have over 100,000 editors working for us, in-house expertise, particularly with Nature. And so we also speak with people, and speaking with people is a really great way to provide context and to look into the future using data. So that's a bit about our data proposition, and hopefully that answers some questions. We know people quite often have questions in this space. And then if we move forwards, I'll get to introducing our products. And so Nature Research Intelligence launches with 3 products. They're each kind of at a different stage of maturity. So many of you may have heard of Nature Index. Nature Index has been about since, I think, 2014. In Nature Index, we take the leading journals in the natural sciences, get onto that in a bit more detail, and look at organizations' share of publications there. And that helps people understand where they are. We have Nature Strategy Reports, which is a comprehensive deep dive. And we have this new product called Nature Navigator that Marcus will tell you a lot more about, providing a live window into emerging trends and topics. And if you move on, Marcus, I'll tell you how these things fit together in the way that we look at it. So when we work with people, quite often their first question is, what's the landscape in a particular area? Whether it be AI or another research topic, biocomputing is something that we're interested in at the moment. Nature Strategy Reports really is a great way to understand that landscape and explore all the different areas in a particular research topic. Nature Index tells people where they are, where their organization is within that research topic. We can use that to look at the outputs and compare those with other organizations. And then that helps you know where you are, but you want to plot a course to where you want to be. And that's where Nature Navigator comes in. And Nature Navigator summarizes the research topic and really helps you understand some of the actions that you might need to take, going back to one of those key challenges that people have, having the insights at your hand and having the information at your hand so you can take action to, for example, find the right collaborators. And you'll hear more about these three solutions shortly. If we move on, I'll tell you a bit more about Nature Index, and then Marcus will tell you a bit more about the others. But first of all, I'll just speak a little bit about how we work with people. So we're very keen to better understand your needs. So sometimes people don't quite know what they need. Sometimes they've got a problem that they can't fully articulate. We'd love to hear about those, because what we found with many organizations is those conversations turn into really innovative and compelling projects. So we will work with you to understand your needs. We'll select the right data from the data that we have to hand, or perhaps data that we need to get in. We'll engage the right subject matter experts, and then we'll help to show those insights and stories from the data. And then with the reach that we have, Nature and other Springer Nature platforms, we can also then distribute that information and reach audiences with those insights and kind of measure the impact. So you see all the way through from kind of understanding your needs, identifying the right solutions to your needs, through to helping you action against those needs. We can support you with that. And then if we move on, I'll tell you a bit about how Nature Index plays a role in that space. So next slide, please, Marcus. So for those that don't know, Nature Index provides a simple and transparent ranking and metrics and journalism that demonstrate high quality research and collaboration. You can see a couple of screenshots there. If you go to nature.com/nature index, you can explore and you'll see the listings that we have. You'll see the supplements, you'll see the news stories. I want to speak to you a little bit about where Nature Index is heading to. And if we go to the next slide, we believe Nature Index can really positively help move the story forwards to help everyone track those top tier socioeconomic impacts across all disciplines. Today, Nature Index is focused a lot more on the productivity and collaboration space in natural sciences, but actually already in our journalism, we've expanded beyond that to social impacts and innovation and to many other disciplines. And with the data that we're working today, we'll then reflect that in the future in our Nature Index. And that's great. And, we believe there's a great opportunity there to help people move the conversation forwards on how research is assessed and drive improvements in that investment, going back to the very start, so that we all benefit and the whole world benefits even more from that $1.6 trillion that's invested in research and development. And then if we move on, I think now I can introduce Marcus again. He's going to pick up from here and share with you Nature Strategy Reports and Nature Navigator first, and talk you through those two solutions before we wrap up at the end of the presentation. So Marcus, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Darren, for introducing Nature Research Intelligence and Nature Index. Hello, everyone from Munich as well. I'm obviously not at the Oktoberfest right now, but instead glad to be speaking to you about Nature Research Intelligence. As Darren said, I'll introduce Nature Navigator, our most recent addition to the Nature Research Intelligence family. And this is your live window into research to guide decision-making. Let me first turn to the question, how research leaders make informed decisions in times of information overload once more. And I'll illustrate that dilemma with an example. If you go to Google Scholar right now and search for monkeypox, you'll get 20,000 results returned in 0.05 seconds. But what do you do with that information next? There are simply too many publications. There is too much information out there. And the question then quickly turns into who can you trust and how can you make sure that you're not missing out? And furthermore, important insights, they are hidden across a multitude of different content types like published research as well as preprints, funding grants, data sets and code, tweets, blogs, news, everything happening in digital media, academic citations, but also links to patents, clinical trials, policy documents, and other products. And to combine all of these different data sources, well, you need data scientists, analysts, and engineers. And still, even if you have those, how do you find a trustworthy direction amongst so much data? And this is where Nature Navigator can help, because it focuses on single topics at its core, and they all come together in our library, which you see here, because we can create topics for all domains and cater to many use cases, such as discovering up-and-coming areas like biocomputing, which we'll do together actually in our demo shortly. You can understand highly interdisciplinary research like artificial intelligence or the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. You can investigate niche content like monkeypox, focus on a country in a particular year like we did for Egypt in 2021, or assess the impact of an individual researcher, even like Nobel Prize winner Benjamin List, or last but not least, justify UKRI's funding investment and help with setting the research direction accordingly. Now, if you're interested in a topic which you haven't yet curated, what we'll do is we'll provide you with a quick assessment first on the coverage of the available scientific content before we move on. So this library will be your entry page to find and explore fitting research summaries. And here you can eventually then also connect with the wider community within your organization that is interested in the same research. And for that purpose, we envision ratings for topics, comments, and discussions around them, in addition to easily sharing results with your peers. And naturally, we'll extend the topics in our library in various ways, driven by our renowned Nature editorial expertise. But this development is also informed by data such as the popularity on our publishing platforms or based on customers' requests, as we are working already with clients to grow the number of topics we help to navigate. Now, Darren already alluded to this, but I want to pick on this shortly. Currently, decisions are mostly retrospective because data too often tells us what has happened, not what will happen. And to tackle this rear view mirror issue, you need real-time data on the one hand, and you need multiple data sources on the other. We're looking into surfacing comprehensive and in the now data around preprint development and funding allocation to address this challenge. And with that, we can provide forward-looking trends that help to make informed strategic decisions. Now, onwards to another challenge. This is an example of how our topic modeling approach helps to identify the main themes in highly interdisciplinary domains like AI research. And in this simplified example, we organize millions of publications into coherent topics of applied research in a way that they make sense and are easily understood. We identify the main themes based on the publication's concepts or their keywords that define them, if you like, to answer what and how much is being published in which areas. And this development is then visualized over time, so the main topics and subtopics can be viewed in relation to one another. Finally, this is what I'm going to demo to you as well. Our latest module, which has been added only recently, allows our users to identify experts, to find collaborators, to hire new talent and look for competitors. And this ties back to many of the needs around better collaboration opportunities, but also improved quality of staff and students who are partnering organizations aim to attract. Now, enough of the slides, enough of the theory, I say. Let's make this a little bit more interactive by exploring one of our topics together. So let me refresh so you see this is indeed live. For today's demo, we'll dive into the world of biocomputing. While this is one of our smaller topics with 1,500 publications from 2,800 researchers, it still gives you a pretty good understanding of what Nature Navigator is able to do for you. So we have 4 modules currently available. We start with a timeline chart to get a high-level overview, how the topic has developed recently before we move to the main themes, the top publications, and identifying experts. Right, let's go into it. So here, you immediately get the bigger picture at a first glance. Now, keep in mind that all the heavy lifting in selecting the relevant publications has been done already. So there's no need for complex Boolean query logic and time-consuming iterations to get it right. You can immediately see the overall growth trajectory and understand how different research domains have contributed to the topic over time. In this case, we're visualizing this for computer science and biological sciences. Obviously, we could visualize other fields of research here as well. But to better understand one area, let's interact with the chart. So we can, for example, let's select computer science in 2021, and we can compare this now to other years and just follow the addition over time. And what we can also do is change the visualization. If we wanted to just look at it in a group way to see whether it has grown overall, or investigate whether the contribution has shifted in a way. So this remained rather stable, but at least now we have understood in a simple yet intuitive way kind of how different research fields and the overall topic has developed. Now, what you see down here, in addition, is a copy which can be edited to explain the analysis, to provide recommendations and suggestions. And here we blend editorial journalism with data analysis. Okay, now what are the main themes? Let's move down. Just to make a long story short and spare you all the technical details of our topic modeling approach, it's in the tooltip here, but publications that mention the same concepts and keywords are grouped together. And this helps to understand the breadth of research, in this case, biocomputing. So we break this down into subtopics like logic gates or DNA algorithms, which in turn could be further split into subtopics. But now what I would like to understand, what are these topics about and the publications within them? So let's start with molecular computing systems. And there you see the most relevant concepts that best characterize the publications in this cluster on the right. All right, I can also do this. Now let's pick another example. Let's do this for natural computing and dive a little bit deeper, because I can also select some of these concepts and just compare them with one another thoroughly to understand the impact different concepts have on these publications and the subtopic overall. Now, what I would like to understand next is how has this influenced the overall topic development, though? All of these subtopics. So to that end, we have added a timeline below in which I can visualize certain subtopics. For example, let's do this for DNA cryptography. Let's do it for logic gates and DNA algorithm. Right, so here, for each point in time, I get the number of publications in each subtopic that I'm interested in. And what I can do as well, I can zoom into certain timeframes just to get a more granular, zoomed-in view for my investigation. When you compare it to the chart earlier, where we just had a bird's eye view. And here I can then grasp, okay, which of these areas have gain volume, and perhaps the decision which subtopic to focus on has already been made at this point. Okay, so those are the subtopics that we derive from the publications themselves. But if you haven't yet made a decision on what to investigate further, let's move to the top publications. We surface them down here, and this is still on natural computing, because here you can even better understand what a topic is about on the one hand, but also curate a reading list on the other hand. And this is very important as a use case to many research decision makers that are struggling with information overload, just way too many publications. And as you see here, this is Penn Publisher. You can find publications from Elsevier, from Wiley, from IEEE, and from Spring in Nature alike. Now, we start with a simple selection of metrics, so a number of citations, journal impact factor, recency, and relevance. More metrics will be added to assess the impact of these publications over time in a sensible way without overwhelming. For now, I'd like to point your attention, actually, let's pick one publication from Spring in Nature. Yeah, let's take this one, Novel Optimum Parity Preserving Reversible Multiplayer Circuits. Because there you see that we are also summarizing publications in an abstractive way, which we generate automatically to allow our users to assess whether they want to click through and read the actual publication or not. So you get the abstract, but you also get a summary. And by providing this in addition to the abstract, it saves our users valuable time. And an incredible amount of time, as you might very well know, is actually spent on literature discovery. Okay, so now I kind of know what the topic is about, how it has developed, what the top publications are, but who are the experts? That's my last question. So to that end, we've recently added the expert finder. Let me just briefly go up because we saw that, yeah, I think Logic Gates is a good one. It contributed a lot to the volume. So let's see. Okay, so this is an influential subtopic within biocomputing. And we can see that in this subtopic, most of the researchers are actually either from China or from the US. We have a couple of European countries here as well, Japan and India over here. But as most of the audience is actually from the US, I would say let's look for an expert in the United States. So we can zoom in here. And the size of the circle pretty much tells me how many publications were in Logic Gates from these researchers. So we see that Clarkson University seems to be pretty strong in that subtopic. That's interesting. All right, let me have a look. Now I can change this journey, but right now we're looking at the publication years, and we see that there has been a researcher that published a lot in 2022. In this case, it's Evgeny Katz. Oh, let me just do that again. Here we go. That's what I wanted. Right, here is our expert. We end up with an expert to whom we could reach out to and connect now based on the publications in this subtopic. So this is how easy it is. They're really straightforward. The journey is, of course, not yet complete here. We'll add more details about the individual researcher in our next iteration. And we are improving on a continuous basis by iteratively adding valuable information based on feedback from our already existing clients. So stay tuned about our progress. These are very exciting times for us. And with that, I think I wrap it up for Nature Navigator. Because what you'll get is your centralized, holistic live window into research trends. And it enables you to track emerging research topics and guides your decision-making with trusted and comprehensive data across publishers. And as you will have seen, we purposefully tried to keep this as simple as possible. There are other platforms out there that have shown you can always make it more complicated, but for us, it was really important that you don't need IT expertise or data scientists, data analysts to understand what's happening. So we leverage AI summarization technology that turns data into actionable insights, and you can self-serve and interact with the data. As Nature Navigator, I hope I could show you, is highly engaging and interactive. And finally, you get real-time data updates. provided automatically to help you with that rear view mirror challenge. Okay, that was Navigator. Let's talk about Nature strategy reports next. They are there to help you hear the signal, not the noise. And we work across all sectors to offer really boutique and specific reports. And these are kind of your destination type reports. Where do you want to go? Because they provide you with custom deep dives into a research area with insights that inform our clients' research and funding decisions. And the key benefit is that these reports can be tailor-made around your institution and organization or a specific subject area. So we go in and we analyze your and your peers' performance by meticulously surfacing strengths and weaknesses. And while doing so, we strive to remain editorially independent to not damage the trust in our reporting. And our customers do value the data journalism that our world-leading in-house and external subject matter experts bring to the table. And that has proven to be an immeasurable advantage for us in this space. So finally, while they're very rich with data, our reports are written with a journalistic flair, which makes them very engaging to read and accessible for a wide audience. And the data is visualized incredibly well, and you feel that they are really written with the audiences in mind. So Nature strategy reports, they cover broad and niche areas thanks to our comprehensive data sources that include all publishers and research disciplines. Nature Index comes into play here, as well as the other data sources we can tap into, like dimensions from digital science. And by identifying top trends and collaboration opportunities, we help to maximize our customers' return of research investment. Now, we've seen two different use cases. A report can, of course, be published to advertise a research organization, to attract talent, and so on, or it can only be used internally to adjust the strategy going forward. Both use cases are perfectly viable, and we've seen both. Now, when looking at the market demand, we have a pretty good understanding based on existing customer requests. So most of these reports will contain similar analysis patterns in one form or another. They start out with some sort of trend analysis with global trends in research on a topic. And then we investigate the research performance with regards to growth and share to assess the achievements or shortcomings that are worth mentioning. And this will then be used to reveal relative strengths and weaknesses. There's a benchmarking section that compares performance against national and international competitors, while finally trends in research collaboration on various levels are discussed by looking at impact in various ways. And this is helpful to identify existing and potential new top collaborators. Now, here are a couple of snapshots from a report we did with CAS, the Chinese Academy of Sciences, but there's also links to other publicly available reports. Have a look at them once you get a moment. As you will witness for yourself, the publications are of very, very high quality with a professional magazine feel, designed to be interesting to read with beautiful graphics and photos. Now, not too quick. While we do see, there was one more point I wanted to make, many commonalities based on our history with this product, as I already mentioned. Each report up to this point has been uniquely challenging, but at the same time also singularly rewarding for the client. Now, don't forget, they not only look professional, but they also deliver high quality editorial, as they are written with input from leading experts in the field, as Darren had already mentioned. And obviously, these publications have also been used to demonstrate thought leadership in the past. In a way, Nature strategy reports as a momentary deep dive are the continuation of a journey. Just to reiterate that point, that starts with Nature Index for benchmarking and continues with Nature Navigator for monitoring afterwards. And in summary, we provide the authoritative view on benchmarking, on research performance and impact by leveraging the experience and expertise that Nature brings to the table. And our offering goes above and beyond just simple academic impact assessment, because it provides a holistic answer to our clients' research questions. Now, this is actually the last slide I wanted to show you before we go into the Q&A session. A quick word on our approach before we wrap it up. It is really about listening to our clients in the first instance, about their data needs and also how this can inform their decisions and objectives. So in collaboration with our customers, we first precisely choose the data and metrics to be analyzed before we build an analysis framework that addresses all the requirements that are voiced in the initial scoping. And this framework will then inform exploratory analytics work in the beginning to understand what does the data look like, how can we possibly create some recommendations and a strategy. And once we've got that in place, we're able to create a more detailed and in-depth data set using our editorial visualization experts to put together an impressive and useful report. So throughout this process, we bring in our dedicated experts from the data analysis side, along with our world-leading editorial subject matter experts. And via this combined team approach, we provide insights, strategic perspective, and future-proof outcomes that lead to informed decisions that are taken with confidence. And all in all, I'll close with that. This is a very consultative approach throughout all the products, particularly for a strategy report that we do together with our clients throughout the entire project life cycle. And I think that's me handing back to Darren to close and lead to the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Great to see the demo. And like you, just very excited about how I think we can change the conversation by focusing on research topics with Nature Navigator and assess the landscape with Nature Strategy Reports. If we move forwards, just to kind of wrap up on Nature Research Intelligence, we'd love to speak with you. We'd love to speak with you if you want to understand and work with us on forward-looking insights to guide the future of your research. If you want to bring all your information into one place, if you want to make faster, more effective research decisions and work with us on our AI and editorially powered solutions. We also like to speak with you if you've got ideas in terms of how we can develop our Nature Research Intelligence solutions, and we have an active developer program, our development partner program. So feel free to reach out if you've got ideas or input, but also if you'd like to speak about a particular need that you've got. And then if we move on to the next slide, I think we can move into the Q&A. Before we start answering questions, you can see there's a QR code if you want to reach out to us via our website. You could also reach out to us in many different ways, via social media, LinkedIn, via Choice and ACRL, who are hosting this, whichever works best for you. But maybe we can move into the Q&A. Thank you all for your time. Sabrina, would you like to maybe moderate the questions that come through, or should I just dive straight in?
Whatever you like. It looks like we have a couple of questions and comments already, but I'd just encourage all attendees to, if you have a question, put it in now so we can address it.
Yeah, please do. We'd love to speak with you about your questions. I'll answer the first question there. The elephant in the room. There's always an elephant in the room. In fact, I was in a room earlier and there was actually an elephant there. It was a brass elephant. It's a question that we get asked very often, which is, do you have data from other big publishers incorporated in the product? And the answer is a very firm yes. Hopefully you saw that in the presentation earlier, both in the slides and where we talked about the data that we have access to. Obviously, yeah, we work with other publishers. They have our data, we have theirs. You know, the ways that we share that with open data as well. And then Marcus showed that directly within Nature Navigator. So very firm yes. If you don't think we will have the data you need, speak with us. I suspect that we do, and we can work with you to resolve those questions. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. The second question there is around journal impact factor. which was shown in Nature Navigator, and kind of how that's in line with DORA. So we're signatories of DORA, very much support DORA, and we believe Nature Research Intelligence will advance DORA so that we can look at multiple metrics. I think, yeah, there are different interpretations of the declaration, and yes, the impact factor was shown there. I think the key is in how impact factors and other metrics are used, and we advocate a much broader use of different measures, so that things can be looked in around, as well as qualitative assessment. So yeah, it's not just about the numbers, it's about qualitative assessment as well. And we very much encourage people to think about that. We are actively developing in that space. You can see that in our journals, in our editorial content, and you'll see that in solutions like Nature Index in time as well. So, very much support DORA. I think it's a great question, and we'd love to speak with you and others, about how we can help drive assessment more towards socioeconomic impact and broader range of indicators, because that's absolutely what we want to do. Are there any other questions coming through?
It doesn't look like yet, but I can throw you all some quick questions if that's good. So one question here, this one's for Marcus, is how bespoke are solutions provided by Nature Research Intelligence?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. And they can be very bespoke, but it depends on how quick we have to move, because the more bespoke, obviously, the more time we'd need. Perhaps for each of the products, let me explain that a little bit. For strategy reports, they're probably the most individual, as it always depends on the organization and the research field we're investigating. But as I said, there are some analyses that we see kind of reoccurring, so we can reuse those. Nature Index supplements are new each time. They're published with different focus over the years, so that varies quite a bit. And finally, Nature Navigator topics can be set up truly unique per client, and the user interface can also be adjusted in many places to fit our customers' needs, both on the data but also on the experience side. This can be changed according to our clients' needs.
Great, perfect. Okay, looks like we do have another question in here. Someone asks, do you also provide data on funding levels, source, amount, etc.? And if so, what is the sources of this information?
Yeah, great question. Thank you very much. The answer is yes. We have access to funding information via Dimensions. That's awarded grants there. And if you've got some particular needs in that space, please speak with us and we can kind of illustrate that.
Okay, great. I'll just throw out another question here, and this is for Darren. Are you only covering Springer Nature content or Pan Publisher? I talked about this a little bit, but just want to.
Pan Publisher, yeah, that one comes off often. Pan Publisher.
Perfect. Great. And let's see. I have another question here for Marcus. What separates Nature Navigator from other offerings?
Oh yeah, that is a good question. Apart from our experts and the experience we bring along, I would say it is mostly the user experience, because we don't, as you've seen, have tons of modules, and our interface is very, very easy to navigate. And we really made an effort to keep it simple to use and do all of the heavy lifting on our end already. We didn't add a lot of metrics to an almost overwhelming amount, which we've seen on other platforms. And also you need dedicated analysts that have gone through significant training to use some of these other platforms. Because Nature Navigator is as easy as I've shown you in the short demo earlier. And perhaps that's what makes it different.
Great. Yeah, let's see. Looks like we just got another question in. And it is just wondering, do you incorporate data from Google Scholar, for example, data from Google publication metrics?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't have the publication metrics today from Google Scholar. Lots of the source data that comes into Google is publicly available. So we have a lot of that already. But the Google publication metrics is not a question that's come from one of our customers so far. But as I mentioned before, yeah, absolutely happy to explore these things. We have a great relationship with Google, and we can speak with them about what's possible in that space.
Great. Okay, we have another question, which may be more about using the demo, or but it's how do I get my paper published using the demo and that sort of thing?
Well, being published in Nature is a very special thing, of course, and that's not what we're speaking about today. But maybe the thing that Nature Navigator can do for researchers, if we speak about that, is to understand where research trends and topics are going in the future, and picking the right research area to focus on. At the forefront of science, and clearly Nature publishes in that space. Picking the right people to work with. There's lots of evidence that's shown that it's important to choose the right collaborators. And with Nature Navigator, you can find the right collaborators, and you can also find the right papers to inspire you in the research that you do. So I think Nature Navigator can help you on that journey. It's a long journey for many, and but it can definitely help you make the right choices. I think particularly if you're early on in your career, or even later, as to what to research.
Great. Okay, let's see. We have another question here about the business model. So what is the business model for these products? If you want to touch on that.
That's a great question. And I should have mentioned it earlier, actually. So Nature Index, the website and the content on there is actually free to access. So we are doing this to share that with the world. We charge for Nature strategy reports. Often, that they are more bespoke. And we'll scope out a project with you and share an estimate of the cost there. And for Nature Navigator, speak with us. We can talk about the different topics that you're interested in. Often, what we find is that people have a range of topics that they're interested in and would like to subscribe to those on an ongoing basis. So those are the ways that we engage with customers. But we'd love to speak with you, and if you're interested in that side of things. It sounds like you're interested in the products, so reach out and we can follow up in more detail.
Perfect. Okay, let's see. Another question here. Does this incorporate dissertation publications?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think we today have answer questions in that space. Marcus, is that your understanding as well? No. So
yeah, I would think so.
It doesn't. We haven't done that today, but it's great that you're asking this question. Again, this is something else that we can absolutely explore. So if you've got a need in that space, we know there are sources out there of dissertation publications, and it may be that's something that we can quite quickly incorporate. So, we had a client the other day that asked about a data type that we hadn't worked with before, a type of publication that we hadn't worked before, and within about 2 weeks we had access to that. So if there's a need there for dissertations, I know there are providers out there in that space. We can very much speak with them, and as you've seen with Nature Navigator and other solutions, what we're about really is to take the best of the data that's available out there and provide the insights in a really easy to consume way for you and your audiences. So great question, thank you.
Great. Yeah, there's a follow-up on, you said no about if the dissertations have to be science-based or STEM, but it might be opportunity to talk about how STEM or science-based these products are.
Yeah, and yeah, just to there's two things that kind of people might assume with nature, that it's STEM or natural sciences focused only, or that it's only focused on the nature publications. Neither of those two things are true. We are pan publisher and also pan discipline. So STEM, absolutely, but we also love humanities, social sciences, and applied sciences. Any research topic, we are interested in the future of research, and we work with this data day in, day out across disciplines and across publishers. It's another great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see, maybe we have a few minutes left. I was wondering, you talked about how important, let's see. Okay, you talked about how important like feedback is from your customers and the people you work with. So I was just wondering, do you have a process of how you collect that feedback, or how does that work to, strengthen those connections?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I mean, there's two ways for our customers. I think I had a slide earlier. We're very consultative, so we will speak with you and really understand your needs and try to find a way to solve those. We'll present with you solutions. You can use those solutions and you can give us feedback, and it's very much a discussion. And we love those discussions. That's why we've launched Nature Research Intelligence, because people thought that we could help them, and we think we can too. We also have a development partner program. So if you want to be part of that, reach out to us. We had 15 people join, 15 organizations, I should say, join early this year. Very happy to work with you, particularly if you've got a project in mind, a need in mind. We can kind of work with you and understand that need, and that you might be another module in Nature Navigator in the future. So you can see maybe from Nature Navigator, as well as that focus on the research topic, which I think is quite different to maybe the search-based tools. You mentioned Google Scholar earlier, where you get it's very hard to make sense of all those documents that you get. The insights, each module is an insight. It's about how to find an expert, how to see the trends, how to get a summary, and you may have a need, maybe dissertations that came up earlier, or something else that we can work to understand and build that into our roadmap.
Perfect, great. Yeah, we have just a couple minutes left, so maybe one quick question. Marcus, I saw how in the demo you showed how you can find top researchers in the field. So maybe expanding on how you see these products aiding in collaborative opportunities between researchers.
Yeah, that is very much on our minds right now, because as I've said, this is not the end of the journey. The next best thing is then find out more about a researcher and find commonalities and find out how to connect. Who are they working with? What makes them unique, and how would we work together? I guess that's down the line very, very important to us to complete that journey, and something we'll be adding in due time, like a collaboration network, for example. Show me a connection from like my institute to their institute. There's lots of ways of how you can actually give you some conversation starters, perhaps, if you're reaching out like, hey, did you know? Yeah, we're happy to come back to tell the audience how we figured out to solve this one down the line. Just a couple of thoughts on this. Thanks for the question.
Perfect. Okay, I think we're right at the end. Oh, there is one final question. I think we talked about this, about how are these products for sciences or for all faculty, social sciences and humanities? And Darren, I think you did say this is for all.
Absolutely. Social science is really important, and our products are for social science as well. So I'd love to speak with you about that.
Great. Okay, I think we're right at the end here. So I'll just say thanks so much to Marcus and Darren for taking the time to speak with us today. And thank you so much to the attendees for your questions and comments. I'd like to remind our viewers that we did record today's program, so be on the lookout for a follow-up email from Choice and ACRL with a link to the recording. Also, if you have a few minutes after the presentation to fill out a brief survey, we'd really appreciate it. So thanks again to all of you out there for joining us. We hope you learned something new from the session, and we hope to see you again in the near future on another webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much,
Have a great rest of
everyone.
your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.